you say, when Warren Beatty wants to do something his way, he has it all figured out. So you better be damn well prepared to argue your case if you differ with him. Did you and Warren have some arguments?
Oh. From hello.
Who won those arguments?
Sometimes a completely different third party.
Warren had worked on the script with Elaine May, but I guess I'm given to understand when you came in to co-direct and star in the film, and by the way, both of your performances in it, we know your performance was great because it's Oscar nominated, but Buck's performance also just so funny, so vital, I think, to the movie's success. But you wrote some of the picture too, you helped with that as well.
Yeah, that's what we did first when I came on. When I joined the company, I started at the beginning of this film. I said, well, I'll just fiddle with all the scenes and see it. And so we started from the top. We started from the first scene with Jack and
Jack Warden.
Jack Warden, without whom any picture is not as good as it would have been with him.
Now, 40 years have passed. You guys have perspective now.
How many years?
I'm afraid it's 40.
Are you serious?
No, it's 20. 20 years have passed since that. The story at the time, and it's so refreshing to see that sometimes such great art comes out of it, was that there was it wasn't a perfectly smooth process of getting the movie made. So you just tell me where this is wrong. I'm dubious of this quote because it is attributed to an insider, which makes me sound like I'm reading something from TMZ, but this is from 1977. The suggestion is that maybe Dyan and Julie Christie weren't speaking, and Julie and Warren weren't speaking. You'd never even known about Julie and Warren, that they had been lovers. Warren wasn't speaking to his co-director, Buck Henry. Co-star Charles Grodin wasn't speaking to anyone. And James Mason, who played God, was just staying above it all. It's a funny quote, that's why I wanted to read it, but you guys will tell me if any of that is true or accurate.
Julie and I made great friends on that film and remain great friends to this day. She is a doll, and there was never a time when we were, all that stuff is such garbage. Well, not all of it, no. There's a few quotes in there that are right on.
60% of it sounds like it might have been right. Is that, you're both artists, does it concern you on a set if there is that sort of artistic and dramatic tension? Is that an indication that the picture might not work, or does that sometimes...
Well, it doesn't help.
It doesn't help.
Of course not. If you really dislike someone on a set, it doesn't facilitate your working with them. That's obvious. That's true whatever business you're in, isn't it?
Well, I mean, I was wondering because, I'm a big sports fan, and we know that sometimes teams, and I know certainly Dyan, right, but sometimes teammates don't get along at all, and somehow out of it comes excellence.
I had a great acting coach who taught me a great lesson, because that was a question I had. What happens if you have to do a love scene with somebody? You can't stand them. They've got BO. You don't like when they talk. It's just not harmonious. And he said, find something, even if it's an eyebrow that you like. Find something, and that would make it possible. I haven't had that happen often, just once, and the eyebrow really helped.
This is a remake of a 1941 picture. Here comes Mr. Jordan.
Directed by Alexander Hall.
Directed by Alexander Hall. The lead.
You mean Warren's first choice?
Warren's first choice. Okay, all right. Not apparently Buck's first choice. That's good. I like this. You want to tell him who it was, Buck?
A famous fighter.
Famous fighter. The most famous fighter of them all, Muhammad Ali, was the initial choice to Lawrence.
Yeah.
Thank God for Buck.
And he was interested,
But
but
his second choice was, what's his name, who was trying to get the Democratic nomination.
to play the James Mason part.
Yes,
Eugene McCarthy
yeah.
was his choice to play the God figure, the fighting for the Democratic nomination in 1968. Warren, obviously a big Democratic activist, thought that McCarthy would be good. The studio was not interested in McCarthy. Nor, I take it, was Buck Henry.
No, I didn't think it was a good idea, but
You thought maybe it should be, an actor. But Muhammad Ali was interested, but he was still fighting,
yeah.
and the schedule didn't work. So Warren fell back on option number 2, which was Warren. But he's pretty good.
Oh,
And then he changed it because he'd been a really good high school football player, so he changed the script, which I guess you were involved in that too, of changing the script from a boxer to a quarterback. What is your,
Well, I thought, it's an amazing, the genealogy of that story is quite remarkable. It's never failed in any of its forms, and it's been it was done on television, it was done on the stage, and it's never flopped. There's something inherent in the story about true love finding its way through these circuitous paths that affects people, affects audiences. And
Do you think that's true?
yeah.
That
Would I
love
lie
does
to you?
find its
Have I
way?
ever lied to you? Yeah, I do think it's
Yeah.
true. Oh, you mean about love?
About the essence of that film. I never thought about it that way. But is that the hook that's kept generations loving that
I
film?
think it is, because I watched, when we were preparing all this stuff, of course I watched the original movie, and then I watched the television show, and I couldn't believe how good it was. You could see it sometimes, it's remarkable. And the other factor that we were all searching was the original film had what was considered to be, and I certainly agree, or concur, as they say in these kinds of phrases, that Claude Rains had the greatest voice in film possibly ever. So we were looking for a great voice, and we found one, of course, because I think James is the greatest voice of films of his time.
So you thought maybe he'd be better than a politician who'd never acted before? Yeah. Strange.
James Mason, I did another film with James, and the man is just one of the best actors that's ever lived.
Just to keep it all in the family, my father was briefly, and my father, who by the way it's funny that we mentioned Eugene McCarthy. My father was Robert Kennedy's press secretary, and then later ran George McGovern's campaign. But before he got into politics, my dad was an entertainment lawyer, and he had 2 famous clients: Steve McQueen, who he got out of a couple of traffic tickets, and James Mason, who he helped with whatever entertainment lawyers help people with. And he always would say that throughout his life, that James Mason died owing him like $850.
If it'll make him feel better, I'll pay it.
I think we're good. I think we can just sort of we can let it go. So as we don't have much time, I could talk to you guys forever about this movie. One thing that changed about this, unlike the other versions, Chris Rock did a version called Down to Earth, which is okay, certainly not as
No,
good
it
as
isn't.
You had just said it always works. That's why I said it was You guys made this funny. There is some humor in Here Comes Mr. Jordan, but this is you took it up 10 levels.
Which it has to be acknowledged, a major part of it must be laid at the feet of Elaine May.
Yes. So there are two people in the history of this business who have been nominated for Academy Awards as producers, directors, writers, and stars, 4 categories for one film. Those two people are Orson Welles for Citizen Kane and Warren Beatty twice for Heaven Can Wait and for his next film, Reds. So from both of you, what is it? What makes him special? And I know he's quirky, and I know he's. But what makes him special as a filmmaker?
Detail. He pays such attention to details. You know, it says in the Bible, a little fox has spoiled the vine, and it's true, because one little blink of an eye in a take, one little thing on the table wrong that the masses, he sees every detail. He cut once a scene when we were in the dining room eating our dinner, and the butler's shirt wasn't rolled back as far as he wanted it to, and that's why we had to retake the scene. And I think details is one of the qualities that he has inherited so brilliantly.
Buck?
Oh, that's true.
This question, next one, is pretty much just for Dyan. Cary Grant.
I told you we had great sex.
Backstage, I said to Dyan before we came out, I said, look, we're at the Turner Classic Movies Film Festival. I don't think there is a star more loved than Cary Grant by this audience and the people who come to this festival and watch our network. I go, is it okay if I ask a question? I thought it might be okay because you wrote a memoir, Dear Cary, in 2011, where you wrote really beautifully about him, and your daughter together speaks so lovingly. And as a, I have a daughter, and of course I had a father, and it's just it's nice. So I wanted to ask, and that's the first thing you said. You didn't want to ask about our sex life? And I was like, no. But apparently you're quite comfortable. So, you're working on something now that of which sort of your relationship with Cary is a part of.
Yes. I wrote a book called Dear Cary, which I'm just so grateful to say that it was on the New York Times bestseller list, but 4.5 years later, without a press agent or a TV series, it was on the New York Times bestseller list again in first place. And that's, I think that's because people identified with it. It was so much bigger than about who I am and where I've been and what I've done and what movies I've done or not done. It was about relationships and about things that we can all identify with. And a producer called me and said, I'd like to produce you on Broadway. So for the past 5 years, I've been co-writing with 2 amazing women, a musical. We've written the book, the music, the lyrics, and Cary is about 35% of it. And so I think he'll like it.
What's the title of the musical?
It's called Insatiable Cravings.
Oh, yes, I see.
Buck, before we go, any parting thoughts about Heaven Can Wait? Do you have you got some seriously great pieces of entertainment on your resume, including The Graduate, including What's Up Now, including Heaven Can Wait, Get Smart, which you co-created with Mel Brooks, who was on this stage Thursday night for our opening night presentation of the producers.
I can feel him still here.
This won't surprise either of you. He did not sit down the entire time. There was no sitting. By the way, William Friedkin was here last night for The Exorcist. He didn't sit down either. I just mostly want to say to you two, thank you for sitting down. Much easier on your friend Ben. Where does Heaven Can Wait rank of the movies that you have been creatively involved with, Buck?
Where does it rank?
Yeah, in your mind, when you think of all the great work you've done in your career, where do you put Heaven Can Wait? I don't need a number like fourth. 19th, man. You know.
You take fractions?
I'll-
I don't know how to answer that, but it's, you know, it was a good experience. It made me happy. That's all you can ask for.
And I know it ranks somewhere high because both of you are eager to see, stay for the picture and see how the audience responds to it now, 40 years later, for this wonderful restoration of one of the...
20 years later.
20 years. 20th. You know what? I got that. It's the 15th anniversary of one of the favorite movies from my 30s. Ladies and gentlemen, Buck Henry, Dyan Cannon, enjoy Heaven Can Wait.